Hi, my name is Amanda Ferraro. I'm the CEO of Aviation Safety Solutions. I have type ratings in over 7 aircraft, 20 years in experience in large international captain operations. And in the last 20 years, I've become an expert in safety management systems, both for ICAO and for FAA Part 5. I'm happy to be here today to talk with you about upset recovery training and the how that integrates within safety management systems and what you can take away in our plans for 2026. I'm leading the Safety Risk Profile Development Working Group, and our objectives for the 2026 are we're going to develop smart deliverables for profile refinement. I'm really excited today to deliver to you a new safety risk profile and how that's going to integrate within the safety management system framework, which is going to fit under safety risk management. So our working group this year has worked on taking pilot type based profiles and missions and looking at it from the lens of safety risk management and how does that fit within the risk profile of the operator. So let me just talk to you a little bit about safety risk management and the safety risk profile so that we have clarity. Within a SMS, we identify hazards. And when we identify hazards across the operation, it is our responsibility to ensure that we risk assess those and determine how risky that hazard is to us as both humans and to our operation. And then from there, mitigate and try to put risk controls in place to reduce that risk over time. The safety risk profile usually is stood up when an operator is implementing an SMS system. But then as the organization continues, the organization should use that safety risk profile as a working log of operational hazards that have been identified and those operational hazards that need constant monitoring. So for today, what we've done is we've taken specific threat profiles based on the pilot type and the mission, and we've given you some examples of the safety risk profile. For example, today we're going to show you our safety risk profile for corporate jet captains, Part 91, charter pilots for Part 135, flight instructors, maintenance ferry pilots, airline pilots, special mission pilots, law enforcement, firefighting are some examples, general aviation pilots, and helicopter pilots for 135. So what we've done is we've taken all those types of missions and how does that fit within a safety risk profile within upset recovery training? What does that look like? For instance, if you're a corporate 91 pilot, what are the hazards to you? What are the risks? And then how do you mitigate that? And how do you monitor that over time? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here's an example of the top line is going to be the corporate jet Part 91. And as you see, this spreadsheet is our safety risk profile for this type of operations. So we have the pilot type and mission on the left, followed by the hazard for that mission type. So you can see automation mismanagement during transition mode into Felch or VNAV is a hazard associated potentially with upset recovery as it relates to a corporate Part 91 pilot. In addition, improper pitch and power coordination in IMC or high altitude operations is another hazard that we've identified in our safety risk profile specific to that type of operator. If you're a 135 charter pilot, if we go down one more line, if you're a 135 charter pilot, we know that schedules can be very fluid and it moves a lot. And so therefore fatigue and sleep depth due to tight schedules is a hazard to upset recovery. So what we've done is we've taken these profiles, we've related them to the hazard within upset recovery, and then we've gone on to do an initial assessment, benchmarked against industry data and where the rest of our industry is as far as the risk profile. So if we look at a charter pilot for 135 on the second line, that we look at those hazards on the left and we say our initial risk assessment is medium high. Based on that, what is the mitigation or the control that we're going to put in place to reduce that risk over time? So those mitigations may be adjustments of schedule, additional pilots, enforcing a go-around policy, and sending individuals to potentially upset recovery type training and doing scenarios that are specific to the type of environment that the 135 charter pilot would experience an upset in. The current metric that the organization could be monitoring could be a performance like a go-around rate, looking at maybe questions on a safety culture survey to monitor that hazard, and or even looking at if the organization has ASAP, using ASAP trends. Let's go to the next slide. On the next slide, we have a flight instructor. So a flight instructor, as we know, works with a lot of different types of students and a lot of different types of various skill sets. And so therefore, there is a hazard that lies within that. Having a student that has induced over control of the aircraft, or maybe inexperienced and maybe they do control reversal when they're doing recoveries, is a hazard in the aircraft. And so the primary loss of control trigger in this case is miscommunication or unclear control exchange. And therefore, we assessed it as a medium. The mitigations or the risk controls for this potentially are doing a more solid briefing and having the student understand the exchange of controls. I have the controls, you have the controls, and making sure that that student is comfortable in that response and allowing the instructor to have the controls when asked. Secondary, reinforcing the ready position. That's another item that should be considered as part of mitigations or risk controls. And if you're in the flight instructor arena and you want to try to monitor this, there's different ways in which you can take metrics from this to monitor this hazard and these risks. We say that you can look at possibly if there's aircraft data. So some flight organizations are now using, I call them micro level FDM type programs in aircraft for aircraft data. You can monitor that information coming in off the GPS. And you can also have a training question and answer session, following up, making sure that there's training effectiveness on the backside and that the student really understands what those hazards are well before you encounter them. I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. So we also looked at other pilot roles within our industry to include like airline pilot and then special mission pilots, which is what I had mentioned earlier, our law enforcement, that would be firefighting, aerial type survey flying. And we really have started to kind of hone in on what are the specific hazards as it relates to that loss of control and what are some potential mitigations. Now, I know that for our 2026, as we kind of do more of a deeper dive into this, we're going to be able to refine this a little bit better and be able to have something that our industry can take back to their own organizations to really land on, essentially, when it comes to upset recovery. We know as an industry that upset recovery, if we end up in a scenario where we are in an upset recovery situation, it is, likely potentially very fatal, and it's something that we may not live through. And so that's why having this risk profile is so important to your safety management system, ensuring that you're identifying the right hazards as it relates to the type of flying that you're doing and getting down to root cause to really start to actually mitigate right at the root cause those hazards. And that's what we're hoping here is that you get out of our working group for the safety risk profiles.